Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the worst insert card designs for basketball in 1994. When I did the football inserts, I was surprised because I expected there to be a lot of Fleer and Ultra cards in the worst of list, and yet there were only two. There was one Fleer card and one Ultra card. And what threw me off about it was that I've always remembered that in 1994, Fleer got so carried away with putting so many inserts into their packs that they had a lot of designs that really didn't pass the muster. And yet, as I was going through the football designs, I was going, well, some of these aren't all that great, but they weren't terrible. And it wasn't because everybody else was terrible, although that certainly did play into it. It's just that the designs were better than I remembered. But that's because it was football. And so here when I got over to basketball, now I was starting to go, okay, now things are starting to make more sense. Because I spent a lot more time opening packs of Fleer and Ultra basketball cards than I did football cards for 1994. And yeah, the Fleer had a more difficult time with their basketball card designs. And so they make a pretty strong presence on this list. Not the entire presence on the list. And so I wanted to start off with a couple of cards that aren't quite the worst of cards, but are worth mentioning. And I'm starting off with Stadium Club. In the case of Stadium Club, there are three cards that all have a justification for being on the list. Now, the first of the cards is Clear Cut. And with Clear Cut, this is a card that I've always really liked, and I would like to put this on the best of list, except when I take the time to get past the technology and actually look at the design, I realize that the design is really lousy. And it disappoints me because I absolutely love the technology. And this is a problem that Topps has had, where they find some great printing technology and then they sit down and create an absolute mess of a design. Not necessarily, well, in some cases it is an absolute mess. In other cases, it's just mailed in. They don't even really put much effort into it. And so what you get are these card designs where the card itself, it pulls you in, it gets you excited. And then you look at the card and you go, wait, that's it? That's all there is? And that's what Clear Cuts is. So as much as I love the card, it's not because of the Topps design. And we're here to talk about designs, so that's not good. But I don't hate the card. Similarly, when I go over to the Stadium Club Beam Team cards, this is not the low point for Beam Team cards because they do have 1992, but it's right about at the low point because the card, that big chaotic explosion of whatever down at the bottom is not great, but I like the rainbow foil. That foil effect on it is really cool. And there's an energy to the card as well. If that explosion of whatever down at the bottom of the card was one color of foil, then it would be clearer to see and it would not work at all. But the fact that it has that color effect tones down the mess that's down at the bottom of the card and makes the card more fun and more playful. And so while it's still pretty much the worst Beam Team card of Stadium Club, at the end of the day, I don't hate the card because I like the playfulness of it. So that leaves one Stadium Club card that is a contender for the worst of list, which is Dynasty and Destiny. And this is a card that I was absolutely expecting to go on the worst of list until I really started looking at it and realized, while I'm not a fan of the card, I don't hate the card, I like looking at it. And that's because it's all about the portrait. It's all about the portrait. And so as I started looking through these cards, the portraits were so strong and so clear and so well framed, not balanced, but well framed, that I went, I am enjoying this process. I'm not bothered by these cards. I think they could be a lot better, but more than just the strength of the images, you probably by this time already know that one side is Dynasty and then it ties up with the Destiny on the other side. You might notice though down at the bottom there's a symbol that is, or there's an artistic theme at the bottom that ties between the two cards. Well, that's the top half, where on the backs of the two cards you have the bottom half of the symbol, which is an ampersand, which means when you combine the two cards, the front and then the back, which is kind of weird. Then you get the whole and sign for Dynasty and Destiny, which is cool. I like the way that they did that. It was a cool concept to roll with, and it makes the card kind of fun. It would have been better if they had the front of two cards giving that ampersand as well, so that you had the ability for the fronts of the cards to work. But it makes the cards more playful and more fun, more of a full experience. And it is difficult to even notice it, but once you do notice it, it is a cool design feature that enriches the experience of collecting these cards. So, Stadium Club, while in this case, not making great cards, at least they were fun and engaging cards. Then I make the step over to the honorable mention of Topps Super Sophomores, and we're back into the whole mess of Topps having great technology and not knowing how to use it. This is kind of like the first Topps Chrome card. It's not quite finest, but it's suffering from a similar problem that Finest had, which is that Topps had this great technology. What do you do with it? Well, that's a question that Topps never answered. In 1992, they absolutely nailed it. And in 1994, I got to admit that their football design is actually not that bad. It's pretty good as well. But in most of the other cases, the designs that they did were just... It was kind of like they got totally caught off guard and just could never figure it out, after years of working with it, what to do with these cards. And the Super Sophomore cards fit that perfectly. Obviously, the aging issue has hit these cards pretty bad and does not help. But even when you get past that, even if the images are clear, the card just doesn't have anything for me. There's no liveliness to it. There's no strength. There's no colors that pop out on the card. The design theme is not even clear. It's a big letdown. And it really is that question of what is Topps ultimately going to do? With the cards, when they got around to Topps Chrome, they did solve that, but they solved that by using a good design and then just making a Chrome version of it. Making a card from scratch, it took them a while to figure it out, and this was certainly not a success. Then we've got the first of the Fleer cards, which is the Ultra Rebound Kings cards. And Ultra Rebound Kings, whenever I think about bad insert designs for 1994, this is literally the card I think of. There's a very specific reason for that. When I was collecting these cards in 1995, 96, when I was finishing up the sets, I never thought about these cards because I got it out of the way and then just kind of moved on. Then when I started to get into eBay and I started trying to put together the cards that were missing, I kept running into this card and going, oh, I've never seen that before. I need to get one of those. And then I'd run into another, then I'd go and look at my collection. Oh, I already have them. And then I would see it again later on and go, oh, I've never seen that before. I need to get it, only to find out I have it. And after a while, I started to see the pattern and realize, oh, yeah, that's that one that I've always had, and I've always forgotten that I had it. And the reason is because it's a forgettable design. It's such a mess. There's nothing to engage you with the design, such that when you look at it separately, it looks like something you would never forget, except you absolutely forget it. So it's not good. It's not good at all. That's a weird thing to succeed at doing, which is to make a highly identifiable card that you can remember very easily, that you can then never remember. I don't know how they did it, but they managed to pull it off. It's got some text. It's got like a hoop. It's got some weird stuff, and it's too much to really comprehend. But at the end of the day, there is something kind of engaging about it, something that at least looks kind of fancy and looks like it was not well designed. I mean, this looks like an 11th hour, oh crap, we got one more to do. Let's put some stuff, that's good enough. We'll move on. It has that feeling to it, which is probably exactly how the card was designed. But I don't hate the card because it actually is a little bit intriguing and a little bit engaging and a little bit fancy. Not great at all by any stretch of the imagination, but it's good enough to not be on the list of the 5 worst, so I've got it here as an honorable mention. So now let's look at the actual 5 worst designs, and I start off with Ultra, with Inside Outside. This is a card that surprised me that it went on this list because I've always thought this card was one of the fancier cards because I've never looked at it. I mean, I've kind of seen it. It has a really nice silver background color. It has a little bit of gold foil, which is kind of cool. It has like some pieces of a picture that are part of a picture or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of fancy. And I'm sure that someday when I look at it, it'll be really nice. So when I sat down and looked at it, I went, what are they doing? I mean, the strips are they like a continuation of the picture and the strips are, or is it, I don't know. And that's the thing, is that it was a great idea. I get what they were trying to do and I like that. The problem is they threw something together, said, we'll get back to it. And then in the 11 and a half hour after they finished the Rebound Kings, they were looking through and they looked at it and went, oh yeah, forgot to finish this. You know what? This is good enough. We'll just go with this. That looks like the way that this thing went, which is that it's a great idea. It's got all the things that needs to succeed. It just needs a little bit of effort to make it work. It does not have it. And so this is a card where if I look at it, I suddenly really don't like it. At least with Rebound Kings, I go, they tried. In this case, I don't even feel like they tried, which is really sad. So yeah, not a fan. Likewise, over at Fleer, they had a tendency to kind of stink the joint up. With Tower of Power, well, this is about as great an example of ruining something good as you can find. That whole spray paint effect behind the player, I mean, it's not good from the outset, but then you look behind at the coils and whatever they had behind that actually is kind of intriguing. I wonder what's back there, and I wonder what they could have done with it. They clearly didn't try. It was almost like they had designed all of this, stuck the picture in front and gone, no, it's too busy. We need something in between. And so they just put the spray paint in and went, you know what, that works, and just kind of sent it out the door. And they shouldn't have sent it out the door. It was not ready for that to happen. So that's why it's here at number 4, because whatever the potential the card could have was ruined by the spray paint. At number 3, I've got Ultra All Rookie Team. Now, they also have Ultra All Rookie in 1994. The All Rookie cards are the actual rookies. All Rookie Team is the previous year's rookies, so it's first team and second team. And these are the ones I'm looking at. And oh wow, I don't like this card. I mean, all of that silver foil on the side. Putting that much foil on a card is difficult to make work, especially in a big block like that. And then you have the embossed letters, which look like they should have had something on them. Either remove the foil from the embossed letters and leave everything else as foil, or put the foil only on the embossed letters, or something. I don't know. Differentiate the letters. I mean, there's a lot of complexity in here, and I'd love to see the complexity. The problem is it's just so much foil and it overpowers the card. And I acknowledge they did try to do something kind of quirky with that peel back. Look, I'm OCD. Don't do that to me. That's not good. I have that. That's already hurting this already tragic card. At the end of the day, the only thing that's good is the image. And if they'd done something with the image, that could have potentially worked. But instead, all that foil, just no, please, no. This doesn't even look like an 11th hour, oh yeah, we forgot to finish it concern. This looks like something where they just asked their kid to come in and throw something together because they didn't even have time to proof it. I don't know. I really have never understood this card. Never will. And I'm surprised that I have it here at number 3. That said, I got good reason to have the other two where I have them, which starts off with Fleer, Rookie Sensations. And here we've got the exact same problem that we had with Tower of Power. Yes, it comes down to that big color splat behind the player. Now behind you have kind of a spirograph of design that's really kind of cool. I'm wondering what you could have done with it. Now over in Jam Session, they did something similar, not the spirograph design, but something very similar where they didn't put anything in between, and you look at the card and you go, it's not a great card, but actually it's not a bad card. I think that the card is a success. It's, if you're going to make a whole bunch of inserts, this one came through. But over in the case of Fleer with the Rookie Sensations cards, apparently they couldn't figure out how to make the spirograph work with the images of the players, so they just put that big color splat there to act as a transition, or I don't know. It overpowers the card. It ridiculously overpowers the card. This is a card that surprises me, where when I look at the jerseys, I find that they're actual NBA jerseys. And that's because this is a carryover from Jam Session in 1993. Now, the Jam Session cards in 93 were a little bit different, and I'm not going to say they were worse or better. I'm just going to say that here in 1994, they were using that same spirit, and I didn't like the spirit they were using in 93 with the Jam Session cards. Certainly isn't working here. Why they have to have that big splat of color, I don't know. But it was not the right move to make. Absolutely not. In fact, I'm surprised I don't have this at number 1, in part because at number 1, where I have the Provision cards, this card is all about the art. Absolutely all about the art. And I absolutely don't like the art. Now, they've been doing this for years, and the art on these cards tended to be anywhere from really good to workable. In 1994, it fell apart. It reminds me of UD Choice and MVP when they had kids draw cards. And the way that the cards came across looked like it was drawn by kids. That's what this looks like. It is so mediocre. And I talked about this in football, where I really didn't like it. But in football, I think that the art was better. Not because the artistic merits were better, but because the design of the cards was more interesting. In basketball, I just think this is... I do not like this card. I do not like this card. I do not like this card. If you're going to do a full bleed card, you have to have an image that reads, and this one does not. So as much as I would love for the other two to be down here at number 1 and number 2, this card I have to have here because, again, when I look at the football cards, I go, okay, they're not great, but all right, I get what they're doing. Here, I don't even get what they're doing. It is just no. So that is where that's what I put for number 1 as the worst insert design for basketball in 1994, and this is my whole list. So if you haven't seen the football list, if you want to see how it contrasts, I've already got that out, so definitely check that out. Let me know down below if you think something should have been on this list, or if you think that the order is not quite right. Definitely do that. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and thank you very much for watching.